Good morning, everyone. This is Linda Martinez out of beautiful Southern California, a California native born and raised. Love this state. It has its ups and downs. We have the oceans, we have the mountains, and we have everything in between. But I am so excited to be with you here today. We're going to be covering a lot of information, so please have your pencil, your pen, and your paper available to take notes. I've been in the real estate industry for well over 35 years, and I've seen the ups and downs in this industry. I think real estate is one of the most important investments that we can make for our families, for our future generations. It has been very, very challenging the last 7-8 years. And I worked with a company that was a service-oriented company, and I worked with realtors on a daily basis, providing their buyers with services, home warranties in particular. And I worked for this company for over 18 years. Unfortunately, when the market started to turn, the company did as well, and they pulled out of Southern California. However, I had already been involved with financial education services, and one of the reasons why was I knew that there were people out there that needed to have their credit fixed. And I myself fixed my own credit many, many years ago. Unfortunately, it took me 4 years because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know truly what my rights were under the law. And so I only wish that, financial education services had been there at the time to help me fix my credit. During this period of time, I have heard many, many people, and especially in the last few years, contact me and ask me, I'm being harassed by these debt collectors. They're threatening to sue me. They're threatening to come to my home, and police officers, they're threatening to take my children. Fraud. They said I've committed fraud. So I've heard incredible stories how people have been bullied, they've been harassed at home, at their job, and I have to tell you, these companies are in violation, and that's what we're going to discuss today as far as what your rights are under the law, under the Fair Debt Collections Act. So, my friends, get ready to learn, and we do have a solution for you. So moving right along, what we're going to discuss today is what is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, who enforces the FDCPA, and what types of debts are covered by the FDCPA. We're going to go over a little glossary of terms, which I'm sure many of you know, but for the sake of those who may not, we're going to do it. So communication with third parties, what are your consumer rights, and how to stop collection calls. We're going to go over the 15 FDCPA collection violations and ultimately get to a solution. First, we're going to talk about what is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Well, many people are unaware that this act is in place, and it was put in place to protect us, to protect the consumer against the debt collectors, because many debt collectors are out there and harass and bully us, and they're governed under this law to not do that. The Act creates guidelines under which debt collectors may conduct business, defines rights of consumers involved with debt collectors, and prescribes penalties and remedies for violations of that Act. And it sometimes is used in conjunction with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So it's really important to understand that this Act was put in place to eliminate abusive practices with debt collectors, third-party debt collectors. Who enforces the FDCPA? Well, the Fair Trade Commission oversees the collections industry and has the authority to impose fines or other penalties for violations. However, the FTC does not get involved with individual consumer cases. They accept a large number of complaints and look for patterns of violations, which could, then lead to a class action suit, which it has in many, many cases. There have been many, many debt collection companies that have been put out of business because they have not followed the letter of the law and have been extremely abusive. So what types of debts are covered by the FDCPA? The Act covers personal, family, and household debts, including money you owe on a personal credit card account, an auto loan, a medical bill, or your mortgage. The FDCPA doesn't cover debts you incurred to run a business. We're going to go over the glossary of terms. What is a creditor? I know many of us know what a creditor is. It's someone who gives us credit, creating a debt to whom a debt is owed. But such term does not include any person to the extent that he receives an assignment or a transfer of the debt. That would be a third-party debt collector in default solely for the purpose of facilitating a collection of such debt or another. Debt, it's an obligation or an alleged obligation of a consumer to pay money arising out of a transaction in which the money, the property, insurance, or services which are the subject of the transaction are primarily for personal, family, and household purposes, whether or not such obligation has been reduced to a judgment. So it is something that we owe. We borrowed money, and now we have a debt. The debt collector. Any person who uses any instrumentality of interstate commerce or the mails in any business, the principal purposes of which is the collection of any debt, or who regularly collects or attempts to collect directly or indirectly debts owed or due or asserted to be owed or due another. So someone who tries to collect the money. A collection agency. Some creditors will actually use a separate company, name, address, and phone number for their internal collection departments in order to give the impression of an outside agency. That happens all the time. This strategy is generally only used when the debt is, under 6 months delinquent. But most collection activities are performed by a third-party collection agency, which are separate from the original creditors and, work debts on behalf of those various lenders. They may also buy bad debts, which have been designated as charge-offs by the original creditor. And that's important to understand that when it's been charged off by the original creditor, they've taken it as a loss, they write it off at the end of the year on their taxes, and they've sold it for pennies on the dollar to a third party who does not have your original information. Purchase debt. Some agencies also purchase large groups or charged off debts for the small percentage, and that's what I was just sharing with you, for face value. After a debt is sold, the debtor now owes the full amount of the purchase. But since the chances of recovery decrease substantially with time, an agency might only pay 1 to 5% of the face value, so they buy it for pennies on the dollar. The agency's profits come from the difference between the purchase price and the amounts that they eventually try and collect. They add interest, they add collection fees, they add all this junk, which in many states is unlawful to do. Once the debt is purchased by a collection agency, the debtor will no longer be able to make negotiations with the original creditor. And that happens so many times where perhaps you may come into some money and maybe you did have difficulty with Macy's and they didn't want to make arrangements with you. And you have money now and you want to pay them off. They don't even know who you are. They won't take the money from you. They've already charged it off and sold it to somebody else. And that somebody else, who says they have the right to collect on that? Your original contract was with Macy's. That's who you made the agreement with. You didn't make it with ABC Collection. Reporting to credit bureaus. Third-party collection agencies may report a debt to one or more of the credit bureaus as a collection account, including the amount and whether it was paid or not. Paying off a collection account will not result in the item being removed from the consumer's credit reports. It will simply be marked paid. Agencies can report both debts that they have bought and also the debts they are working on behalf of the actual creditor. Also, a collection agency may request a debtor's credit report in order to get an idea of his or her general financial situation and to get updated addresses and phone numbers. So it's very, very important to understand that just because you pay a debt does not mean that it's going to be removed from your credit report. It's just reported as paid. But we have a way that we can help you with removing that collection, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Statute of limitations. A debt does not become new just because it was sold. Example, a 7-year credit reporting time limit is still based on the original delinquency date with the original creditor. The statute of limitations for filing lawsuits is also based on the same date, and these limits cannot be legitimately reset by a collection agency. They try, but it's not supposed to, that has bought the debt. However, the statute of limitations may possibly be reset if the debtor, meaning you or I, makes a specific promise to pay or makes a general payment. It just moves everything up. And this can reinstate the debt for another 6 years pending the state laws. Because in different states, we have different statutes of limitations. My daughter-in-law had a certain issue last year, which she didn't share with me right away, but this was a debt that she had incurred 7 years ago, and it was with a payday loan. And because times are hard, you know, there are different collection companies that resort to pretty nasty ways of collecting money. And so all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, this debt collector started calling her and said she owed them, you know, like $250, some menial amount, which had already been taken care of. But he said that she owed that amount of money. And that how could she do this, that she had committed fraud, and that he was going to send the authorities to her home, her kids were going to be taken. I mean, it went on, and it was not a good scenario. Well, she ended up paying this guy some money and gave him her credit card information, and when I found out about it, I just about fell off my chair because this is what I do. But she was embarrassed and didn't want to share it with me, and we ended up having to close the account immediately. And we reported him to the Attorney General in his state of Atlanta, Georgia. And he was, turns out we Googled his name, and the guy is just known, has a reputation for being so ruthless. So you just need to be careful. How does a debt collector obtain personal information? A person can be traced via Google, the yellow or white pages, the assessor's website, Facebook, contacting family neighbors, the Department of Motor Vehicles, court records, written checks, credit reporting agencies, and other skip tracing tools. So you need to be careful when you're on Facebook of who you friend. I have an associate of mine who was contacted by a creditor. He found her on Facebook. And sometimes we put our telephone numbers on there, on our profiles, and he found her and he called her and started harassing her. And so then she hung up on him, and she worked for a certain company which was shared on her site, and he said he was going to call the company and tell them what kind of a person she was. This was in violation of the law, but, you know, my friends, they resort to some pretty nasty stuff. So be careful. Be careful who you friend on Facebook. Can a debt collector contact you anytime or place? No. A debt collector may not contact you at inconvenient times or places such as before 8 in the morning or after 9 at night, unless you agree to it. I'm sure we're going to agree to it. Collectors may not contact you at work if they are told orally or in writing that you're not allowed to get calls there. There are collection companies. I have personal clients who have shared with me how certain collection companies have called them at their job every 15 minutes They were sick to their stomach. They were so embarrassed. Well, we took care of that real quick. We wrote a letter and reported them to the Fair Trade Commission. And within a couple of days, it stopped. But I got to tell you, they're ruthless, so you got to be careful. Can a debt collector garnish your bank account or wages? If you do not pay a debt, a creditor or its debt collector generally can sue you to collect. If they win, the court will enter a judgment against you, and the judgment states that the amount of money you owe, including but not limited to attorney's fees, costs, interest, and allows the creditor or debt collector to get a garnishment against you, directing the third party to your bank to turn over funds. The account can be attached and garnished, such as banking and savings accounts. However, this is what is happening right now, is that there are people that get letters from the debt collector, and many times they don't have them validate that debt, and so they continue to harass the consumer. The consumer may receive a summons to appear in court, and the consumer ignores it. They don't go to court. They don't provide the certain paperwork that needs to be filed with the court. And the collection company is there at the courthouse and receives judgments on thousands and thousands of people who don't show up just for not showing up. And so they get a judgment and they file it, and then they start garnishing your wages. If you appear in court and you provide information that you tried to have this company validate this debt and they did not, the chances of this being thrown out of court is extremely likely, because they didn't follow the letter of the law. They don't have the original contract that you signed. They didn't provide you with the information that you asked them for. You don't know who they are. So don't ignore paperwork that you get. That's when they get a judgment. If you go to court and you fight it, the chances are very likely that you're going to win and it's going to be thrown out. So communication with third parties. Under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, discussions about the debt can only be held with an individual, the creditor, an attorney representing one of the parties, and a credit bureau. Public airing of your business intended to shame you into paying a debt is not allowed. This is a violation of the FDCPA. And many times they threaten, they'll call your neighbors, they're going to call your family, your friends, embarrassing against the law. So this is your right, and it's really important for you to know is how to validate your so-called debt. This is some of the information that we have on our validation of debt letters. Explain to me the money you say I owe. Show me a breakdown of what you say I owe. Provide me with copies of paperwork showing I agreed to pay you what you say I owe. Provide me with the name and the addresses of the original creditor. Prove to me the statute of limitations has not expired on this account, and show me a copy of your license to collect in my state. They have to verify this information and validate it with you. My recommendation is that if you need something like this, I'll be happy to send you a validation of debt letter. This should be prepared and addressed to the individual who is harassing you for this money. Send it certified mail. Keep your copies. Create a file for yourself. This will be proof for you if this company does not follow through with what they're supposed to. How to stop collection calls. Make written requests for the collector to cease communication. They can only contact you one more time via mail to let you know one of the following: that further efforts to collect the debt are terminated, that certain actions may be taken by the collector, or that the collector is definitely going to take certain steps. Contact me for your cease and desist letter. I have that as well. These are the violations that, oh my goodness, that are inflicted upon people every day. They ask you to pay more than what you owe. They ask you to pay interest fees or expenses that are not allowed by law. They call, oops, excuse me, my friend. They call repeatedly or continuously. Use obscene, profane, or abusive language. Call before 8 or after 9. Call at times the collector knew or should know are inconvenient. Use or threaten to use violence if you don't pay the debt. Threaten action they cannot or will not take. Illegally inform a third party about your alleged debt. Repeatedly call a third party to get your location information. Contact you at work knowing your employer does not approve. Unlawful. Fail to send a written debt validation notice. Ignore your written request to verify the debt and continue to collect. Against the law. Continue to collect on a debt before providing verification. Continue collection attempts after receiving a cease communication notice. All of these are statutes under the law. Can federal benefits be garnished? Not usually. Many federal benefits that are exempt from garnishments include Social Security, Supplemental Security Income, veteran benefits, civil service and federal retirement, and it goes on and on and on. Federal benefits may be garnished under certain circumstances, including paying delinquent taxes, alimony, child support, or student loans. Rare, it is a possibility, but not usually. Dealing with a debt collector can be one of life's most stressful experiences. Harassing calls, threats, and the use of obscene language can drive you to the edge. What's worse, a collector may embarrass you by contacting your employer, your family, your neighbors, and you may even be hounded to pay a debt that is not rightfully yours. Sure, collection agencies have a job to do. Even so, there are limits on how far a debt collector can go. So learn the game and win. And this is what we're going to learn. We're going to learn that credit bureaus are privately held billion-dollar companies. They do not verify items that are placed on your credit reports. They pay fines each year for failing to update credit files correctly, and they don't make money correcting credit. They make money selling credit files to big industries and companies, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. These are the companies that are privately held companies. They are not part of the government. Credit restoration, and this is part of, being educated, understanding the way the credit game is played, and that's why I wanted to share with you about debt collectors, because they're terrible. Today, your credit score is like a vital sign, and it's being monitored at all times. About 25% of the population has a 599 credit score or below. Over the course of your lifetime, less than excellent credit could cost you from $200,000 up to $1 million in interest and additional fees. And for having a less than perfect credit score, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost your family. It's going to cost everything that you do. Everything. $1 taken away from your family is not good. Even if it's a dime that you have to pay more, it's taken from your family. About 43% of employers use credit score as a factor in determining who they will hire, and about 80% of all credit reports have errors on them, causing lower credit scores. You need to pull your credit. You need to pull your credit. Annualcreditreport.com is a great place that you can pull your credit for free, and it won't hurt you. I do that every 4 months, one from Experian, one from Equifax, one from TransUnion. I don't pull them all at the same time because I want to stagger them and see what's happening every couple of months. You need to do that. I mean, a lot of people, have pulled their reports and found out, oh my gosh, this isn't my debt. This isn't my debt, and there's been some identity theft. They've been a victim of identity theft and not known it. So about 83 million people don't even know what their credit score is or what is currently on their credit report. Getting back to the number one with the employers, my daughter was just hired some months back with a credit union, but it was very challenging for her. I shouldn't say it was challenging. It wasn't challenging. It was, she had a great score. She needed a 750 or above, in which she did. But if she didn't have that type of score, and if she had any bankruptcy or foreclosure or short sale on her credit file, there was a good chance she would not get that position. What I meant to say was it was a difficult situation for one of my associates who has a client who worked for a credit union as well, and she was going to move out of state. So she was in the process of short selling her home, and unfortunately when they ran her credit, when she was going to be transferred to another credit union in another state, they showed up on her credit file, and she wasn't going to be able to get that job. So it's really, really important that we're looking at our credit reports and making sure that it is at least a 750 or above. So here is the solution, my friend. This is where United Credit Education Services come into play. They are, we are, and just acquired 2 weeks ago, we had an A rating, which is good, which is excellent with the Better Business Bureau. We now have an A+ rating. Now I've got to tell you something. That's pretty tough to get. What that proves to me, and should prove to everybody that is on this webinar right now, that any company that you deal with that has an A rating, they have some pretty great customer service. They do an excellent job in what they do for the people to have an A+ rating. When someone gets enrolled with us, we provide not only credit restoration, but we provide education. And education is key, because if you don't understand how to play this game, then you're going to lose and you're going to end up in the same place. So we want to educate you. We want to help you. And that is what's so outstanding about United Credit Education Services. I want you to write down this website. It is www.united-credit.org. That's www.united-credit.org. An incredible site. If you click on the FAQs, you will find every credit question you could possibly want to know about with an answer attached. Click onto our services. We tell you how we do it and why we do it. Testimonials. We have credit education. We also have this in Spanish. So any individuals out there that are Spanish speaking can click on to that little radio button under the BBB that says Español and be able to read the site in Spanish. Pretty awesome. Very, very awesome. We have a money-back guarantee. Who can do that if we're not completely convinced that we can provide the best service available? So my friends, I'd like you to visit that site. This is what your clients will see. And once they're enrolled with us, within 48 hours, they're going to have access to their own website. When they enroll, we take a copy of verifications, which is a verification of their social, their driver's license, and that is sent over to my processing center. We pull their credit in 24 hours. We go through it to make sure there's no identity theft involved in that process. Prepare their letters for them, and they're going to receive a package in about a week with those verifications attached to a letter to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. We use all the correct verbiage that is needed. We attach the specific statutes of the law for the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and they need to sign the letters. They sign the letters, put them in an envelope, and mail them out. Some people say, well, should I send a certified mail? Nope. Should I send it? Don't email it. Send it regular mail. Stay under the radar. Don't bring attention to yourself. So they send it out, and within 30 days, because the law says that the credit reporting agencies have to verify this information. Did they follow the letter of the law? Did they do what they were supposed to do? Is it Joe Schmo from California, or is it Joe Schmo from Nevada? They may have close to the same social. That's why it's important to check your credit reports. If they cannot verify that information in a timely manner, which is 30 days, the law says it has to be deleted. Whether it's yours or not, it has to be deleted. So your best option is you need to go through the system. If you have less than perfect credit, what do you have to lose? You need to go through the system. So this website is provided for you. You're going to be able to have contact with credit experts in our processing center, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time, to help you, to answer questions for you. I can help you as well, but we have we have a staff, Spanish speaking as well, that can help answer those questions. It's awesome. I know there's companies out there that, anyway, I'll get into that a little bit later, but you can only reach them through email. They don't have live people. I hate that. When they click onto the customer progress report, they're going to be able to see what items are being deleted. They're going to be able to see when we sent those letters out. They're going to be able to see what items have been deleted. And in this particular one, if you see right over here where the original accounts were 10, and as they were in the credit restoration process, 2 more derogatories came on. We didn't charge them more because 2 more items came on. They could have 5 more items come on. We're helping educate them. Maybe it was on the verge of coming on and they didn't know it, but we're going to, process and prepare letters for those as well with no additional charge. That's pretty awesome. Really, really cool. We have an 8-year track record. That's changed. Oh, we're almost a 10-year. So I've got to change that, and we've got an A+ rating with a BBB. We've served over 150,000 clients, removed almost 600 derogatory items. We've removed over 60,000 public records, and we have a satisfaction money-back guarantee. So what do you have to lose? Documentation beats conversation all day long. I thought I had excellent credit, Darby Noakes had said. And unbeknownst to her, she had several items that weren't hers on her credit file. After going through the credit process, she ended up from a 600, low 600 credit score to 700. Pretty awesome. Mr. Matthews, when buying his wife's car, found out that he had a 620 score. That's not going to give you the best interest rate. He got involved in the program, signed up, increased his score to almost 800. Leonette Outlaw, in 6 months, her credit score increased, enabling her to lower her car insurance by 400. You see, my friends, in other states, before you can get car insurance, they run your credit, and that is going to determine your premium. It hasn't happened here yet in California, but I wouldn't be surprised. Imagine having your premium be determined on your credit score. Wow. Mr. Curtis Batts went from a 580 to a 785 in 90 days. Mr. and Mrs. Moeller were able to have a bankruptcy removed, enabled them to refi, enabled them to get a fixed rate loan and save them almost $1,000 a month. That's huge. Imagine what you could do with that $1,000. This gentleman, Chuck Taylor, he went from a 511 to 700s. And I have this asked to me all the time, especially in the real estate industry. I have it asked to me all the time. Can you take off tax liens? Can you take off tax liens? Well, we can sure, the possibility is sure there that we can. If you owe the money, you owe the money. Many times it's been paid and is still showing up as unpaid. Let's get that clarified. Let's get that removed for you. Lenny Downey had 14 derogatory accounts removed from his credit file, including 3 repossessions. He was able to buy a BMW and a new home for his family. That's huge. So what would it be worth to have excellent credit? We have a one-time payment option of $4.99, approximately 1 year of service, with a money-back guarantee. We also have an option of $160 plus $39 a month. There's no contract, and you can keep the service until you reach your desired credit score. So you have two options there. If you just have one or two items, you know, the $199 may be a good fit for you. But if you have more than that, it might be more cost effective if you went the $4.99 flat rate for 1 year. I have to tell you, I get calls from different people throughout the industry. How much do you charge? I share it with them. They're blown away. Some have paid thousands of dollars, anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 to have their credit. I've heard stories of people getting taken for $2,000, $1,500. Those people aren't anywhere to be found. There's a company here locally who charges $199 a month and $199 to get started and $99 a month. Amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. In 5 or 6 months, they've already paid over $800, and that's only 6 months. And imagine having a year's worth of service for $4.99. It's a savings. I have other companies out there that charge per item. Oh my goodness. And they address one item at a time. And they say it's better that way. Not the truth. You want to dispute everything. Everything at the same time. We want to get you in the service and out of the service so that you can get on with your life. So you decide what's best for you. The only thing you have to lose is your less than perfect credit. Only you can invest in your family's future. To know and not to do is not to know. And now you know. My friends, it has been a pleasure being here with you today. I have left my contact information. There is a free ebook I would love for you to have. You can go to queenofcreditrepair.com. Click on the I Want to Learn Now to get your free ebook. I also have my Facebook page that I would love for you to go to. Really, really important for you to go there and like it. And the reason why is on those little tabs, they're called apps, that are underneath the timeline. I have webinars that have already been recorded for you if you ever want to go back and get them. I have information with regards to articles. I've got the free ebook for you there. I have a wealth of information for you at my Facebook page, my Facebook fan page. So I'm going to give you some time to write this information down. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. My email address is here as well. If I can assist you in any way, please don't hesitate to call. And please get with the person who asked you to be on this webinar. They can help you as well. Really, really important. We are a community. We help one another to learn everything we possibly can about how to play the credit game. So my friends, remember, cash is king, but credit is everything. You make it a great day, and it was a pleasure for me to be here with you. Bye-bye.